Hello and welcome. It's The Chat. My name is Manny. Once upon a time, I think it was in 1986, a famous Nigerian broadcast journalist pulled the plug of a microphone in a glamorous career and went for perhaps what you refer to as the butcher's knife. Now, to anyone, that was unthinkable. It's like going from, the very sublime to the ridiculous. It was a matter of time, and it proved many people wrong.
Tokunbo Odebumi is an ace broadcaster, engineer, and serial entrepreneur who is popularly known as the owner of Obalende Suya in London. Tokunbo started his working life as a broadcaster and newscaster with Lagos State Broadcasting Service, Lagos, Radio Lagos, LTV, and WLT in 1978 until 1986 when he embarked on an ambitious journey to the UK searching for the Golden Fleece. Within 1 year of his sojourn in the UK, he started a hospitality business, after which he opened a Nigerian restaurant in London, England, known as Obalende Suya Express, that quickly became the #1 African brand in the UK within 2 years of its existence. Obalende Suya Express is named after Obalende, a neighborhood on Lagos Island in Lagos. The restaurant was founded in the summer of 1987 and opened its first branch in 1991, opening the Peckham High Street outlet in the summer of 1992. Within the same period, he set up the Nigerian Corner at the Notting Hill Gate Carnival, the second biggest carnival in the world. With over 2 million revelers, Nigeria Corner at the Notting Hill Carnival is today a fun destination for all Africans, particularly Nigerians. And the biggest caterer at the carnival is Obalende Suya, serving over 10,000 meals annually. After 20 glorious years of flying the Nigerian flag at the Notting Hill Carnival, Tokunbo retired happily from the hospitality business in 2008 to pursue other business interests in Nigeria, as well as to reunite with his first love, communication. Engineer Tokunbo is a man of uncommon astuteness, a lover of life, and a family man who is blessed with a hard-working wife, Mrs. Jokotade Odebumi, and 3 children.
I've known you as, a broadcaster,
Yes.
par excellence, and then suddenly you just decided, I'm going to now start, exporting suya. And that was the very first time a Nigerian thought of that, taking suya, from Obalende to London.
Yeah.
Was it a different way of doing it?
Well, let's just say that I didn't pull the plug on the microphone.
Okay.
It would be unprofessional to do that. You know that? So what I did was I just took a walk out of the studio. I had a little rethink and was basically looking into the future that am I sure I really want to do this for the rest of my life without having a taste of, because I've always loved to do business.
You had all the options and
Yes.
went for the butcher's knife and the meat.
No, I just decided to go without any promise of anything.
So how did you start broadcasting in the first place? Where did you pick it up from?
I picked it up from Abuja when you guys were doing Twins Connection.
Wow.
If I can remind you of that. Then I used to hang around in the studios then, come around to see you and John. Then after you guys left, then I started doing 1 or 2 things with the radio. Then came down to Radio Lagos, picked up, job with Radio Lagos, and that was where I started. Then Lagos Television came on stream. Then we had Lagos Weekend Television, and they obviously wanted the radio broadcasters to be taking the news with Lagos Television. And so we're basically doing 2 jobs for us.
So how does it make you feel about present-day, broadcasters and standards, as people would say?
Most of the stations you have today would only take you on if you've got a slight American slur in your English. and or you got the American accent.
Is that a good idea?
Not for me. In fact, if I may shock you, I'd rather would have you to have your Nigerian accent because you are entitled to it. But at the same time, you can still communicate and communicate very well. But to put on a fake accent, I'm not saying that, look, you don't have the ones that have come back from America after quite some time and they got that accent on them and they must put it on. You know, you can only be, you can be only be a UK black, you can't be a black English.
Okay. So let's fly over to the UK again. When you arrived in the UK
Yes.
and you decided, you know, to go this way of the Suya, how did it come about?
I had a date actually. I went out on the West End, and it was my first time at the West End around Leicester Square, and obviously you know it's a tourist area. Thousands of food vendors are there, and I was just looking at this kebab machine, and how everybody was pouring over it. So I had a taste of it. And I thought, I had this, you know, expectation that it was going to taste like suya. First, well, we won't go into the gritty of it, but kebab is not, you can't compare it to suya. So after eating it, I thought, okay, we could do something better. And I have something better to offer, you know, England, if only I can get it on. And that's where the idea started.
20 years on, after you set out on the first day,
Yeah.
right? The story is completely different. You are more popular in London than in Nigeria. I mean, you left Nigeria popular, and perhaps going to London, nobody knew you until you started selling meat. Even at the Notting Hill Carnival, there was a Nigerian Corner, which you set up. Now, tell me about it. Run it through me.
I think if I even actually give a whole lot of guys my telephone number, they always would save my name as Tokunbo or Balinde. So it's more or less become a part of an acquired compound name, if I may say. Well, it was what we wanted to do was basically, and coming from a communication background, I wanted to build a brand that had a lot of sustainability with it. In other words, what we worked on at the very early days was to create the authentic flavor of suya. And we actually didn't target Nigerians to start with because we consider the Nigerian market as a ready-made market that we could easily open a shop today and everybody would be there. But we didn't have enough money to start on that level. So what we did was to have a mobile kitchen, and we're actually going to concerts. You know, like you have a Capital Radio concert on Battersea Park with about 70,000 people. You already know people are going to be there.
I remember in those days, the likes of Tokunbo, some other politicians of note who were members of the Nigerian Corner, and it was like a melting pot for most of them, you know?
Yeah,
because you added more, didn't you? Of, not just suya, but local.
Yeah, what we did with the restaurant was to first we looked at what would attract the mainstream. Because if we sit down in Dalston, in East London, expecting Nigerians, obviously we probably will get one in every maybe 40 minutes. Whereas, you know, our business model was telling us that you're going to be ringing the till every second. So we needed to open it up to the mainstream. So we created for the very first time in the UK an open kitchen where the grill was in the middle of the restaurant. And we had the extractor and some engineers to work out the air balance and all those things so that you can actually see your food being done. Everybody eats chicken, everybody eats beef. But in the UK, more people eat chicken than beef for obvious reasons. I'm thinking about
from the kebab, you know.
Yeah. Yes, within our community, I can confidently say that.
Now you came to Nigeria to talk about the Nigerian Carnival. What happened?
Well,
let's start from the story where, you know, somebody kicked you out of the office.
Well, I came to Nigeria, met with, you know, one particular minister who introduced us to the culture minister then. The gentleman the gentleman unfortunately died a few months into the discussion. Then a new guy took over from him. And this guy saw all the proposals, everything on his table and this and that, and just decided to cut us out of the whole entire program. And that was how Abuja Carnival was actually started. So it was started based on my concept, and I conceptualized the whole thing from the very beginning. I mean, look, I take it as a baptism of fire. Of
it seems to have failed, didn't it? The Abuja Carnival is no longer in existence. Why do you think that it failed? Because at least it took off, and it was running on a yearly basis.
Yeah,
suddenly,
what they say. What they say about it: if you are not, if you imitate, an original concept, you would definitely not be able to get it right and take it further. And I think basically they didn't see the concept. The concept of what we wanted to bring about was basically not to sell a foreign culture, but it's got to be something about our culture. But culture too must be entertaining, and that bit they got very wrong. So
but why did you return after 20 years? You ran out of coal?
Well, let's just say that I'd had enough of it, and at some point in life, you want to explore some new challenges, and I just wanted to reunite again with my profession, my first love, which is broadcasting. So I do one or two things on radio. I take news when I can make out the time, but I actively.
So you still remember your vowels and consonants and all of those?
Tell me that.
After eating so much of this, suya, before we came to the microphone, I understand that's not the only thing you're doing now, is it?
Well, I drive a couple of businesses here in Nigeria, myself and my wife.
How many of them?
I only got one, unfortunately.
Okay. Unfortunately?
Yes, without permission.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay, let's get on with it, man. Yes. So what you have, I run an experiential marketing agency as well, which is a little bit further than what I was doing, which was actively being in the studio. But this time it's about strategies. It was about creating experiences for brands.
Did you find it more challenging?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because no two briefs are the same. No two executions are the same. It's about creating new concepts to drive a brand's proposition. So I find it more challenging. And
so this one that you're into also health and safety, isn't it?
Yes.
You are doing some firefighting service. What's that about?
Not particularly. I mean, when I was preparing to come to Nigeria, it was one of the areas I identified. Not intentionally, because that's what my wife has done all her life. She's into health and safety. Health and safety includes, health and safety at work, fire protection. It envelopes anything that has to do with safety of your staff at work.
She has a passion for that.
Oh, yes.
Have you had experience of fire in your home at some point?
Quite honestly, we had one at Suya.
Really?
Yes. This was 1995. Okay. We lost one of our shops.
Wow.
To fire.
Was it easy for you integrating back in the society you left nearly 20 years back?
No, Manny, you know what I always would tell I deliver this lecture almost every other year in the UK, when I go back. There's this association that I deliver a lecture at their annual event. And I always would want to remind everyone that when we went to the UK in the 80s, it took us 4 years to break into the system. And even longer. I mean, I was lucky because I identified what I wanted to do, and it was a niche that I quickly was able to scratch. But coming back to Nigeria, the mistake quite a whole lot of guys are, what you can call the abroadians, as we call them, when they come into Nigeria, is they expect that within the 2-3 weeks they're in Nigeria, they quickly can get a contract, or within 1 year, Nigeria is a lot tougher to even integrate into than the UK. And you just need to, identify what you want to do and be quite focused on it.